Live from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice, Sylvester Lynn, welcomes you to a brand new edition of BTL. We are back on another Thursday. We are on the eve of UFC 302, which we'll obviously talk about today. Will Dustin Poirier finish the story against Islam Makhachev? We'll answer that question and all of your questions on the program this week. Q&A edition. We try to do this once a month. Today just happens to be that day, and it just happens to be a day where there's a lot to talk about. And no, it will not be another bizarro episode of the program. And joining me to answer your questions, Mr. Hot Take himself, Mr. No Gray Area from MMAfighting.com, the gambling guru himself, the Baron of Boop, Jed Mishu. Jed, how we doing, my friend?
Boop. I should have put Boop on the board. Doing good. Just got back from the dentist, so half of my face I can't quite feel it. So glad we're not doing competition. I wouldn't be at my best, but unlike many of the losers and cowards that populated MMA, I would come and give my game face anyway. Like I wouldn't tell you about this if this were a competitive BTL. I would take that to my grave because I'm not here about excuse. I'm here about results. But fortunately, we're not even doing that. This is about the fans today, so you guys can get my half best.
Well, I mean, that's all we can ask for, Jed. We'll let the questions compile. We'll answer throughout the show. EKC Lyden, our fearless producer, will join us as well. But before we get to the peeps, Uncle Dana White dropped a little bit of a bombshell yesterday, and I wanted to get your reaction to this. We didn't get the chance to do an emergency pod or anything of that nature yesterday. Dana White, right at the start of the UFC 302 media day, jumps on social media and announces the remainder of the main card for UFC Abu Dhabi, which is going down August 3rd. We already knew what the main event was. Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov, big one, 135 pounds. Over this past weekend, we confirmed that Chito Vera is fighting Deiveson Figueiredo on that card. And then Dana comes on and announces 3 additional fights. One is Mackenzie Dern versus Luque Godinez. That's why everybody's here. Of course, they want the reaction to that one, although that is a great fight. We also found out, co-main event, 5 rounds, the return of Stockton's own Nick Diaz, as he will take on Vicente Luque. It was also announced that Tony Ferguson heading back to 170 to fight Michael Chiesa. So, Jed, let's start with the name that made all the headlines, the announcement that kind of shook everybody up. Nick Diaz is back. It was quite the road to get to this card and to get to this opponent, as Ariel Helwani laid out yesterday. But now he's fighting Vicente Luque, who's on a tough little skid right now. He looked really bad against Joaquin Buckley. Nick Diaz back versus Vicente Luque, 5 rounds in Abu Dhabi. What do you think?
Nick Diaz Army? It is super weird. There are obviously a bunch of like immediate thoughts that come to mind. I think the first one that everyone had is just why? Like who is this for? Even the most ardent Diaz fans, I can't imagine, are like too stoked about this because of the reticence we had with the Robbie Lawler fight. Like the Lawler fight, Nick hadn't fought in like 6-7 years. And we were all like, this is not ideal. He didn't seem himself. It felt like, oh, maybe this is a cash grab. I don't know. And then he goes out there and just kind of gets worked over by Lawler. And so we're like, okay, but at least he didn't like get seriously injured and we can end here and that's fine. Now we're going another step of bad. And, it's been not 6 years. So I guess when was the Lawler fight? Like 2020? 2021. So it's been like 3 or 4 years. But instead of getting aging Robbie Lawler, who's there, we get Vicente Luque, who is also aging. It's absolutely true. But is coming off like a good relevant win over Rafael dos Anjos not that long ago. And is still like probably at a better stage of his career than Robbie was at that point in time. And so, I mean, the primary thing is just concern. What is this about? And then you just sort of go down the list of other things. I think the next thing my mind jumped to was there's a chance that this works out well. Because you remember when Nate Diaz was doing his schedule for his last fight, it was against Hamzat, and we're like, this is really dumb. I don't know why we're doing. And then some random nonsense happened the day before the fights, and suddenly we get it swapped into Nate gets to fight Tony, and we landed on the right outcome, even if our process was truly, truly terrible. Well, same sort of things happening with similar players as well, because Tony Ferguson getting booked against Michael Chiesa. The more obvious and correct booking of these 4 bouts at 170 pounds is Tony Ferguson, who's lost 7 or 8 in a row against Nick Diaz, who hasn't won in over a decade. And then the 2 guys who are still ranked in Chiesa and Luque just match up with each other. And so hopefully some nonsense happens and maybe that's where we get, because if those were the matchups announced, it would still be weird. Like, it would be odd just for Nick to be returning at all and for Tony to keep getting fights, like high relevant fights. But instead, what we got is Tony fighting a ranked welterweight coming off 8 losses in a row, and Nick fighting a ranked welterweight, and he hasn't won in a decade. So super weird, and we can go into it more. But Mike, is that kind of how you felt too?
I think the first reaction was like, what? Abu Dhabi? Nick Diaz? And then I think I had to digest that first before I thought about Vicente Luque. And I think I had sort of the same reaction you had. Like, if Tony's on this card, why not put these 2 guys together? And then I realized it's just not going to happen, at least at this moment. So then I thought about it. Is this as scary as social media is making it out to be? And I don't know, because of just how Vicente Luque has looked lately. He's not the same dude that went hammer and tongs with Mike Perry. He just doesn't seem like that caliber fighter anymore. Maybe he's on the downslide. He's obviously had a lot going on with the head and the brain. And then Ariel jumps on the MMA Hour yesterday and reacts to the news and kind of lays out how this all played out. So I want to kind of turn this to you. Pushed to fight GSP. We knew there was zero chance that was happening. Then he pushed to fight Colby Covington. Colby obviously wasn't going to be ready. I think after all the interviews I've had with Colby over the years, I think he would take that fight in 5 seconds. Then MVP, then Kevin Holland. Most of those would have taken place at UFC 303 if Nick had his druthers. But in the end, we land on Vicente Luque. So let's take GSP out of the equation. Never going to happen. Colby, I would say, would be possible because that's the kind of fight Colby would take. Prize fighting Colby. And then there's MVP and Kevin Holland. So is this the best option of like the ones that he pushed for, I guess? Like if he couldn't get, we knew he wasn't going to get GSP. Colby was maybe a bridge too far, but I could see Colby pushing for that. Then there's MVP and Kevin Holland. Is this a better result than MVP or Kevin Holland?
This is the second best of the listed offers, which I'm terribly saddened when Ariel started talking. I was like, none of these are good. I don't know why we're in this realm at all. At least with Robbie, it made sense. Like the Lawler fight, we had concerns, but it at least made sense. There was a very understandable booking. Nick Diaz getting any actual ranked dude is insane. Him getting Colby Covington is truly insane. Of course, Colby would take it. Why wouldn't he? But why would the UFC entertain such things? I actually think the GSP idea would make a ton of sense because screw it. Why not? You know, like GSP is not retired, and some people might want, like, if he were to fight, you know, again, people are like, oh, let's let him fight Leon. I don't give a shit about that. GSP is well outside of his prime years. We don't need to do that dance. We don't need to see if he can beat Joaquin Buckley. Probably still can, actually. Like, no, it'd be fine for them to do a weird Legends fight if you could convince GSP to come back, but I guess he doesn't want to do it. And so of those, Luque is probably the best one. Still bad outcome because, like, Mike, what happens when Nick wins? I'm not saying win. If Nick wins, I don't think he's going to win. It seems unlikely he does. But, like, if he wins, what are we even doing at that point? 40-year-old Nick Diaz beats washed Vicente Luque and now is, like, will fight Joaquin Buckley next or some weird shit. It's just, there's no point to this fight other than the obvious point, and I had this conversation with, it was John Nash yesterday on Twitter. I don't remember if it was him or not, but that sounds right. The point of this fight is transparent and clear. Fighters can never retire. They don't have it in them. Nick being one of those. Maybe Nick wants money. I don't know about that. Can't speak to that. But the UFC wants this fight because their TV rights deal is coming up. And so they haven't been building new stars to the extent that they've ever built new stars. And so they are going to bring back all of the people that they can with any name value to get them over, to juice those numbers. So when they renegotiate with ESPN, and at this point, probably with multiple streaming services, I suspect that this will not be exclusive to ESPN moving forward, that they will do a bifurcated, TV rights deal split amongst multiple properties. They want to have the best numbers they can. And so they're going to drag Nick Diaz's ass out of semi-retirement to give them a bump in numbers. And that's really the only master that this is serving, is a transparent, capitalistic pursuit of ratings. And I'm sure it'll work, but it's a weird fight. And I don't care about this fight, which I think is the worst part of it. My instant reaction was not to clutch my pearls, Nick's going to die. It was like, ew, and whatever. Like, that doesn't do anything for anyone. So it's just a weird fight, man.
Yeah. My other reaction was, this is Abu Dhabi trying to stick it to Saudi Arabia, being like, oh yeah, you want to do Whitaker versus Hamza? You want to put this card together? Well, we got Nick freaking Diaz and Tony Ferguson on the card, which may not mean the same to them as it means to us, but still, Nick is a giant name. And by the time we get to August 3rd, we're going to be freaking intrigued to see what this man looks like. If you followed him on Instagram, dude looks in tremendous condition. He looks in a good spot. I think he's out of Cali right now. I think he's in Houston training. Seems in a really good place. Ariel sort of confirmed that himself. So I guess let's see, right?
Sure. I mean, benefit of the doubt. We'll see what he looks like there. And Luque is washed as well, so he at least has an opportunity to come in and maybe not look bad. I just struggled to think that this was the ideal matchup for Nick. There has to have been something more sensible than what we've gone with, but it's fine. And if it does juice casual interest, then that's what the UFC cares about in there. And maybe there is that. Maybe Abu Dhabi feels a little bit better about getting one over on Saudi. I think that the Abu Dhabi card is better on paper, but
definitely
it's certainly, it certainly has more names on paper, but I'm not counting the Ferguson Chiesa fight as good either. So it's not like the 5 fights we have, 2 of them I think are bad. So I don't know if it's there yet, but yeah, it's we'll see is the only real answer here.
My other reaction to this news,
drag Carlos Condit's ass back out to fight Nick.
Wouldn't hate that either. Would not hate that either. Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. I do not mind this. There's a little bit of a story here. These two guys are booked to fight each other once upon a time.
Not mind this.
I mean, no, I mean this with the utmost respect to Michael Chiesa, because I like him a lot. But Michael Chiesa is not in the title hunt whatsoever. Yes, he does have a ranking, but as we've learned over the years, the UFC rankings don't mean
he
a whole hell of a
doesn't.
lot.
I just looked this up. He
so
lost.
There you go. That's
I thought he was still holding his ranking. I thought he was still at the back end, but Kevin Holland has taken 15.
All right, so even better. There is a story there. I don't think Chiesa has many fights left. I'd like to believe Tony Ferguson doesn't have a lot of fights left, but you never know with that guy. And these last bunch of fights that Tony's been booked in, including the Paddy fight, which was one of the most venomous bookings I can remember. People had all sorts of opinions about it. We just felt like, oh man, Tony could get hurt in these fights. And again, with the utmost respect to Michael Chiesa's not really a hitter. He's not a guy that's just going to batter Tony Ferguson and leave him a bloody mess. He might take him down and tap him, which is okay, but I feel somewhat okay because I don't think Tony Ferguson is just going to get absolutely brain melted out there, if that makes sense. So I felt somewhat relieved with the booking. Not that I think he's going to win the fight, but at least I feel like if Tony loses, he's not going to get badly hurt, if that makes sense.
I mean, I don't share that same confidence. just because we know we know what this fight is going to be. Chiesa is going to instantly take him down and then work him over on top until such time as he finds a submission or just runs it out. Like it, it just is who Tony is at this point in time. No, he won't get actual punted out of the cage like Michael Chandler did to him, but like this fight's just going to look a lot like Charles Oliveira or the Benny Dariush fights, and that's fine. Like that's better than getting punted out of the cage, I guess. But what are we doing? Why are we still entertaining this? I understand Tony Ferguson is going to keep fighting because he wants to keep fighting, and I'm not saying he shouldn't. I mean, if I knew him personally, I would strongly encourage him to stop. But, this is how he makes money. Who am I to tell a man how to put food on the table? The UFC doesn't have to be involved in this business. He's lost 8 in a row. Just cut him. Just cut him. Hey, man, if you want to keep fighting, that's terrific. You can go somewhere else. You can go to BKFC. You can do whatever you want. But we're not going to let you lose 9 in a row and then 10 in a row. Like at what point have we had enough with this venture? And so to do it, and then sure, if the bar too clear is let's let him lose softly, then I don't know what fucking world we put ourselves in where that's what we need to be okay with. Like, it's fine. I think the last time he fought, I was like, Patty's not going to do what needs to be done, and they need to beat him into submission. Because he's not going to ever think that he's had enough. And so you need to put someone out there who is going to club him into retirement because he physically has to reckon with the reality of the situation. Case is not going to do that, but he is going to hang 30-26 on him. And so it's just like, what are we doing? Either cut this man, let him fight Jim Miller just because, or put him in there with Shavkat and let's be done. Like that, I am not even kidding in the slightest when I say Shavkat's not getting a title fight yet for whatever reason. Book him against Tony. I would like that more than Chiesa, not because I have a bloodlust, but because that might drive the point through Tony's head. You are not here, kid. You're done. You had a great run. Go home. So if it's not Shavkat, or I guess BJ Penn, because then we can just see who has the biggest losing streak in UFC history. I feel awful about it, and I hate that fight much more than I hate the Nick Diaz fight.
What if Tony Ferguson goes out there and just darces up Michael Chiesa and taps him? Are you just going to be like, no. Okay.
No, because my process is 100% correct, even if the result happens oppositely. Because here's the problem. No one should want him to do that. Shaheen Al-Shadi, colleague, friend, wonderful man, huge Tony Ferguson fan. He's been going through it the last few years because Tony has lost 8 in a row. Tony's fans shouldn't want him to win because he is not going to go out like Robbie Lawler. Oh, I knocked out Nico Price. I'm outie. He's going to be like, look, I just beat Michael Chiesa, who was ranked 6 months ago. I still got it. Now at welterweight, I'm going to make a run. You shouldn't want that for him because he's not. He's not going to make a run. So you should hope that Chiesa beats the hell out of him, but he won't. It'll be the exact same thing that's been happening. Tony will have like one moment of success and he will latch onto that internally. If I could just do that one thing all the time, I would be good again, but he can't. And so he's going to keep going until he's at 12 in a row. And Dana White's finally like, look, I can't even pretend to do this anymore. You're out.
Fair. You heard the doorbell. FedEx is here. I don't know why they ring the doorbell and just drop the box and leave. I don't understand that. Just leave the box.
Just let you know. Also, I was incorrect. He's only lost 7 in a row.
My mistake. Yes. Okay.
7 fights in a row.
Well, that's August 3rd. Sandhagen, Umar, 5 rounds. Nick Diaz, Vicente Luque, 5 rounds. Cheeto Vera, Deiveson Figueiredo, which also went down. I love that fight
Draco,
a lot.
Tony's not beating Chiesa. I'm so sorry for you. Like, I know that you desperately want it. He is not. The man can't stop a double leg anymore. Not that he ever was like that great at it anyway, which is why I was always super convinced he would have throttled him, but like he can't. Benil Dariush walked him like a dog. You think Michael Chiesa, who is a much bigger man, is not going to do the exact same thing?
We will find out. Cheeto versus Figgy, Mackenzie Dern, Luque Godinez, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chiesa. That's the main card for UFC Abu Dhabi.
I don't know what we're talking about. Tony retired in 2020, Shaheen. That's right. That's the right answer, Shaheen. Good work.
God bless Shaheen. All right, let's bring in Casey. Let's answer the questions. There may be more questions in regards to these fights being announced, but there he is. Casey Leiden.
Wait, is Tony actually 40 now? Is that true?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the UFC's big announcement for Abu Dhabi was 2 40-year-olds. This sport. Man, what a company.
Is there anything to be said about almost like the Buckley calling out Conor in the sense that any conversation is good conversation? Because we didn't talk about Dern Luque, and that's a freaking awesome fight, but we don't care because that fight makes sense. But these fights don't make sense, so that's the fight we're talking about. Is there anything in just a promotional thinking of that? Clear.
This is promotionally, this is fine. The idea promotionally is just get 2 names on and thing. That's fine. This is morally questionable and somewhat useless. Promotionally, it's fine. Who cares? They got Nick Diaz fighting. It doesn't matter who he's fighting. They got him fighting.
All right. I guess the big question too, also, was there an answer? Why wasn't Tony versus Nick just booked?
That's a much better question.
It's like
to
the
me.
Big overall.
And I honestly don't know the answer. My guess, based on what Ariel said, is that Nick didn't want to fight a dude on an 8-fight losing streak. And so they were just, no, my baby brother just beat his ass and he's lost 8 in a row. I want to fight the number 4 welterweight in the world, Colby Covington or whatever, because Nick's a lunatic. But that would be my guess.
All right.
209, baby. 209. All right. What are the peeps talking about? Gareth, Jed, you're a legend. You literally make my days. Multiple days you made for Gareth. How about that?
Look at this. Back-to-back compliments.
Wow.
Jameek, the Damn on Chael was great. Love you guys. Some damn love.
The Damn on Chael was great for me personally because when I put it out there, both AK and Shaheen were like, why? Why? I was like, cuz just shut up and do it. And then it was like, oh, it's actually fun.
Of course. Those guys are weird. All right.
I mean, to be fair, when we went back to watch the fights, they were miserable. Chael had 3 good fights in his whole career.
But that's not why he's great.
It's not.
All those shenanigans inside the cage, that's whatever, But
watching the promos was a joy.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh my God, his press conference of Tito when he fought Bellator is single-handedly my favorite press conference ever. When
he's so good.
It's not my favorite.
It was so funny. It was so funny. Okay. All right.
Look, Baby Nuts is the greatest thing that's ever.
That's the greatest single line, but as far as the whole, okay, well, there's competition. It's up there. All right.
I mean, that presser lasted for 3 minutes because of the Baby Nuts. They almost got in a fight. It was awesome.
RIP. All right. One more super chat.
J-Fish, when Dustin KOs Islam and he retires after, who will be fighting for the vacant lightweight belt? Islam versus Arman 2. Also, will Minnesota come back against Dallas? All right. Will Minnesota come back against Dallas, Jed?
No. But too big a hole. I thought that they'd have more life than they have early, but it might have been Chase Serrano who tweeted at the start of the series. The problem with this series is that there are 2 closers on the court and neither of them are on Minnesota. And it's like, they just don't. They're not good. They're not there to win in crunch time in the way that Luque is at this point. So they're not coming back. But credit on them, still scrapping. Love Ant. Ant's dope.
It would be the funniest thing ever if they did. Although I want Dallas. I want him. I want Kyrie Irving to show his ass up to the TD Garden and just get whomped on in front of 15,000 people because it's going to be glorious. Celtics are going to put the boots on whoever they play, and I hope it's Dallas. God, I hope it's Dallas. Please let it happen. Let them just close it out. I want them so badly. That's who I want to play in the finals.
It would make me a lot happier if Minnesota won this series just because I can't. Well, it would be the best. And I stopped being an NBA fan because when literally the day the Hawks traded Luque for Trae Young, which to my mind was an abomination at the moment and sure has worked out to be an abomination over the time. And so the more Luque has success, the unhappier I am about basketball in general. So it'd be better if the Wolves won for me, but I don't believe they're going to. I am certain the Celtics are going to win.
Let's go to the other question. We'll get there step by step. Casey, I'll ask you first. If Dustin Poirier goes out and knocks out Islam Makhachev and does the thing, pulls a Michael Bisping, pulls off the big upset, wins the title, checks off that final box in his career, does he retire or do you think he keeps going?
I think he retires. I think, yeah.
No chance.
I think he's going to, but look, could he fight Conor again? Sure.
0% chance wins, he retires in the ring.
Okay. That's fair. Why do you feel that way though?
Because I think there's a chance he does not fight again. Retiring in the ring takes away the possibility of fighting Conor for the belt. And I guarantee you that if Conor beats Michael Chandler 303 and Dustin beats Islam, they will 100% run that back for a fourth time for the belt if both men are holding, if Dustin is not retired. So it would be career malpractice to retire that evening. You can retire later, go home, enjoy the belt, just do the stock answer of, man, I finally accomplished my dream. I'm not even thinking about what comes next right now. Give me some time to celebrate this moment, and I'll get back to you. And in 34 days or whatever the hell it is, Conor knocks out, then you can dial up Dana and be like, hey, let's do it. I don't even need to say the words because you know what I'm thinking the same way. We'll just do that. And then if Michael Chandler wins, you can retire. Because that's fine. Okay, like you're not fighting Arman Sarukian, like that would be ridiculous.
So basically Conor or nothing if he wins.
Maybe not or nothing, but I'm sure that they could find something else that would juice it enough to make it, but it would be clinically insane of him to turn down championship money on the championship stips on a Conor McGregor fourth title fight. Like that would just be that thing's going to sell 1.5 million and he gets a cut. It would be lunacy to do that. I think there is a 0% chance if he beats Islam, he retires that night.
He retires.
I think the UFC would try to run back Islam. I really do. I think they would try to go there.
I think they would try to run back Islam if Conor doesn't win.
But what if Conor has the choice? Because we might even have to wait, right? If Conor wins June 29th, that's awesome. But if Leon Edwards beats Bilal Muhammad, don't you think Conor would find more intrigue in fighting Leon for the third belt than fighting Dustin again?
Anyone's ever found intrigue in fighting Leon Edwards. I'm bored just saying the words Leon Edwards.
I understand that. I understand that lens, but if you're Conor and you've already accomplished,
you proved that one for me to put it down, kid.
Yeah, I think we all would prefer one of these guys over the other.
I understand what you're saying, Mike. I assume not, in large part because he just wouldn't beat Leon at all. Whereas he probably doesn't beat Dustin either. But
what makes more money?
The history
what makes more money? What makes more money? Yeah, Dustin.
I'm pretty sure Dustin.
I'm pretty sure it's Dustin. Yeah.
I can't be 100% certain because maybe the Conor fights for the third belt, but I think it's Dustin. Because Dustin's a much bigger star than Leon.
Yeah, I don't think.
And they have so much history too. The promo you can do with Conor saying abhorrent things to Dustin Poirier's wife with his leg broken. The story you can tell. I think that just makes more money and that makes more sense for Conor.
It's a real story
Dustin
too.
Says the ship has sailed. You don't believe him?
No, I believe him in the same way that I believe Dana when he said the ship has sailed, and 3 days later was like the ship turned around and came back to port. It's actually now he didn't say come back to port because I don't think he knows how that works. Like, no, ship turned right back around and sailed back. The same shit. Like, yeah,
ship went reverse. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
If he does retire,
agree there's a 0% chance he fights Armin. Like, why would he?
There's no.
That would be so dumb.
So
they're not.
so
He's not
essentially, you're talking like for Dustin to come back with a victory, he has to be guaranteed like what 25 million around there. I would think because that's what I think he would be making if he fought Conor as a champion.
Sure. I mean, yeah, 20 million sounds about right.
We're talking 20 plus million. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, basically that's the number I would think for Dustin.
I won't say that it's a 0% chance that he would fight like someone else or run it back with Islam because he is still a competitor and like any pay-per-view points as the champion and as a popular dude is going to be $10 million, right? Like he is going to make $5, $6, $7, $8 million for any title defense. And I know he is not hurting for money, but like there's still $5 million. It's still $5 million, you know, to do the thing that you love and are good at. And you, by winning the belt, his career will be cemented top 3 or 4 lightweight all time, top 5 lightweight all time, certainly. And so maybe he does just say, screw it, I'll fight whoever. And in that case, it would be Islam. But I think the overwhelming likelihood is that he attempts to fight Conor if Conor wins.
Yeah. I think you would actually get the UFC's blessing to retire. And he may be the only guy because of the second part of this question. They have a built-in vacant title fight ready to go. They could do Islam versus Armin in Abu Dhabi for the vacant belt. Easy peasy. Done.
I mean, I guess that is what you do unless Conor wins and Conor wants to fight Islam. Again, I want to be really clear for all the comments. I'm not saying what should happen. I'm saying the realities of life. Obviously, Conor should be nowhere near any title fight of any kind, but that's not the world. So, like if Conor would fight Islam, 100% the UFC would do Conor versus Islam versus Armin. Like one of those is a big event and one of them is not.
Yeah. And let's be perfectly clear here. If Conor McGregor signs a new extension with the UFC before he fights Michael Chandler, if he wins, he's fighting for any belt he wants. Yeah. He can fight 55, 70. He can go fight DDP if he wants. Whatever he wants to do, if he beats Michael Chandler and signs a new deal, they will let it happen. Conor would fight Tom Aspinall. If dollars make sense, let's go.
Would the UFC create
Jed's right.
Would the UFC create a 65 weight class for Conor?
No.
Just real quick. So that's the bridge too far. That's the one bridge that's too far. I'm just saying. Because we're saying Conor gets anything he wants. Conor gets anything he wants. I'm just throwing that out there. Just wondering.
No, they would just make they'd make he lobbied for it. They'd make the Conor belt or whatever. They're just fine. Yep. Which honestly would be fine to do. Make the Conor belt. Who cares?
The red panty title. Let's go.
Can you imagine Islam versus Armin for the vacant belt would be would be the best like paper title fight of all time. Like, yes, and it's the champion and we get it, but also one of these dudes is coming off a loss. Like Dustin winning just mucks up everything in the worst way.
Islam Armin 2 is the fight I need to see the most. Like as just a fan of high level martial arts, that's the fight
I have decided that I'm less interested. Like I want to see it. It'll be a good fight. I watched a ton of tape for Poirier Makhachev 2 or whatever for this fight, and I left thinking, man, Armin's in a really tough position in his career. There is not a dude better suited to ruin his life than Islam Makhachev is.
We'll see. We shall see. All right. Thank you, Jason.
Islam spent his whole year, like his entire career, every day training to beat better Armin Sarukian in Habib. Like it's so tough for Armin because I think he beats everybody else, but he doesn't beat Islam. It's so tough for him.
All righty. A lot of super chats. Let's fly through them.
Kenny, do you think Strickland at minus 270 is too high, Jed?
100%. 100% too high. I am not willing to commit to Paulo Costa getting the win this weekend, but I really thought about it. It's hard to judge because both men's career have been so weird. Whereas like when Islam and Dustin fight, I know exactly what's about to happen with both of them. Like we just have so much data to be like, hey, here's how they fight, here's how they will likely match up, et cetera, et cetera. Strickland's career is just odd because he was kind of like a middling middleweight and then randomly beat the hell out of the second greatest middleweight of all time. And like, arguably beat DDP. I did not score it for him, but it's not wrong to say that he should still be the middleweight champion. And Paulo Costa beat the hell out of a bunch of people who aren't very good and then has been quite competitive against high-level fighters with one or two hiccups. Stylistically, I think Costa is a really tough matchup for Strickland. And he might still get by him, right? Like he still has a lot of tools, but Costa is not one who backs up in the same way that Strickland wants to come forward. Costa rips the body, and like Strickland's whole thing is keeping his head safe with his, weird Shelly defense. And so like ripping the body, being the guy who's getting whoever is the one backing up will lose, and Costa is going to keep him backing up. Strickland doesn't hit that hard, and Costa is exceedingly durable. Like this can just be a really grimy fight for Strickland. And so minus 270 is a big favorite for a dude who, I think this is a coin flip, frankly.
If this is a 3-round fight and Strickland is minus 270, I would bet on Paulo Costa in the second, 100%. But
yes,
the fact that it's 5 rounds, I truly believe, like with all angles I've looked at this fight, if Sean Strickland doesn't get knocked out in the first 7.5 minutes of this fight, he's going to cruise. He's going to cruise. I think he's going to grapple a lot in this fight. I think he's going to surprise some people. Just talking to Eric Nixon and stuff. And I know that Sean good? Is not the guy. Sean is not typically the guy that listens to the coaching and listens to game plans 100%. He's a little willy-nilly in there. But I do think the grappling has been implanted in his head a little bit. He's very good. He's very underrated in that department. So I do think he might not use it for 5 rounds, but he might use it early just to kind of throw Paulo off his rhythm, possibly get him tired, and then Strickland can do Strickland things. So I actually have a bet on Sean Strickland in this fight. I took the points minus 5.5. I think he will win pretty comfortably here. I could be wrong. He could get caught. Could get 10-8. It could be maybe a 10-8 first round. Costa lands a big shot and drops him or something. But I feel like 5 rounds just suits Strickland way better in this situation.
Has he gotten beaten up in early rounds and come back to win? Or is he kind of, once he gets the lead, he kind of keeps the lead?
I mean, once he gets the lead, he usually keeps the lead, yes.
Yeah, because you're talking about the 5 rounds, and he'll have to get through the fire. No, Paulo Costa might take a 10-8 round to come back and win the fight. But I'm trying to imagine Strickland coming back from a beating, and I'm sure he can. He's a tough guy, but I was just wondering, am I forgetting a fight where he's kind of?
Not that I can think that he came back from a beating. I will say that what I didn't mention and I'm unsure of the 5 rounds. It feels like it should favor Strickland. I'm not sure it will favor him that much. Just because there's also a really clear line through, a through line for the people who have beaten Sean Strickland other than Alex Pereira. And it's if you don't think Jared Cannonier beat him, that's fine. I don't think I scored that fight for Cannonier either. Cannonier and DDP beat Sean Strickland in the exact same way. They just throw a lot harder than that dude does, and they throw at a comparable rate of volume. And if you're throwing harder punches at the same rate, the math just favors you. And Costa is exactly that dude. He throws a lot harder and throws roughly the same as Strickland. So, like you said, if this were 3 rounds, I'd actually pick Costa with some confidence. As I am interested to see how Strickland's gas tank is an advantage in rounds 4 and 5, but he might already be too far behind at that point on the judges. I think we're heading for Splitty City here, man.
We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a good fight. And Paulo Costa can make a lot of noise here.
Highlight of the presser.
Yeah, I love
Do or
Paulo
die
Costa fights.
good and ill.
Paulo Costa's title chances. That's for sure.
All right.
That's the thing that's weird. If Costa wins, he like is immediately back in the title picture, and if Strickland wins, like he is or loses, he's suddenly like pretty far outside of a title shot. Small margins, man.
Hadi asks, title fight for Strickland with a win on Saturday.
I
think it's
possible.
pretty
Unlikely.
If Robert Whittaker beats Hamzat Chimaev, then yes.
I think actually it's I don't think it matters. I think the winner of that's going to get there, right? I think they'd run Whittaker against. I think they'd run Whittaker DDP 2 over Strickland DDP 2
over Strickland.
I mean, if it's a really impressive win from Strickland, maybe, but I think they just let Whittaker do it because Whittaker's Whittaker is maybe not as popular as Sean Strickland is right now, but coming off two wins at that point, he's got the Costa win. He just beat Hamzat, who is the anointed one. I think they'd let Whittaker get it. Or maybe, frankly, at that point, they just do Whittaker Strickland as a true, no doubt about it, title eliminator because Jared Cannonier is back for reasons that remain.
you said his name. No one mentioned him.
Because he's fighting next weekend. We have to say his name.
I had no idea. Thanks for reminding me, jerk.
Fighting next weekend in one of the worst cards put on paper in some time.
You just love talking about him. No one in the comments has mentioned him, and just Ed Michu just like Jared Cannonier. Why is no one talking about him? I don't get it.
I think the answer is no. Is my guess.
I want to say
Strickland getting a title fight with a win.
I want to say no too, but because for promotional reasons, I feel the UFC loves Sean Strickland as a top contender, but not as champion.
Ooh, that's a reasonable take. I like that a lot. It's a really good one.
Yeah,
he's a great co-main event, whatever on a pay-per-view, but you don't want to be your champion from a UFC PR perspective. But he'll still make you lots of money, as a top contender.
And if Hamzat beats Whittaker, then is a 0% chance. Yeah. They're just doing that.
Casey,
Hamzat versus Izzy or DDP is what they're doing.
Let me ask you this, Casey. Who has more pressure on them to win this fight? Is it Strickland? Because there are some people like I get DMs with like heck of a morning questions that I try to get to. And someone had asked me, if Sean Strickland loses, does it nullify him winning the belt in the first place? Because that's him losing to DDP and then losing to Paulo Costa. Does that, I'm not going to call it like a farcical win, but that's just how the question was phrased. Or is it Paulo Costa who has just been sort of up and down? This will be the first time in 6 years that he's fought twice in a calendar year, and we're getting him twice by June 1st, which is insane. He's popular. He's had his problems with the UFC from a negotiation standpoint for his contract. He is popular, but that window is closing on a guy like Paulo Costa. So who has more pressure in your opinion? Who needs this one more?
Based on the betting lines, I'm going to go Strickland needs it more. Just because to prove that Izzy fight wasn't basically a fluke. And I'm still not sure if it was or not, honestly. Sean Strickland kind of still confuses me as a fighter. I just don't understand how he's this good. But he clearly is very good. And beating Costa will kind of, I guess, more cement it within, at least for my own opinion, that, all right, Strickland is legit. Like he is legit, like top 2, top 3 middleweight, no matter what, Because right now the Izzy fight still just seems weird. It's like, if you rewatch it, it's just a weird fight. It doesn't really make sense. But it happened, and he won. So, that's why I think Strickland, more pressure is on Strickland for this fight. And the fans obviously still feel this way, that Strickland is the man with that betting line. So, it'll be,
Yeah. I think it's Costa, but mostly because, like, if this is a real... You guys are
gotcha.
You guys will understand. If this is a real sport, like if this is real and this is based on merit and the best guy fights the best guy, then it's Strickland all the way, 100%. But because Strickland is so popular, he's a guy. I don't know if like the Strickland fans will jump off the train like they do most other fans do with most other fighters. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll come on Twitter and just be like, "Fuck this guy." I don't see that happening because of just the following that he has now. And when you have that kind of a following and you're still fun and people still like you, you're never really out of the conversation. And Sean is one of those guys who I feel at least brings a boost to almost every card he fights on. And it started from the Alex Pereira fight and it continues on now. So I feel like he's never really out of it unless he goes on a Tony Ferguson run. But if he loses this fight, yeah, it's going to suck. It's going to sting and he might have a little bit more work to do, but he's still a win or two away from getting right back in just because of who he is and how popular he is right now.
I think it's Strickland.
Yeah, I totally get it.
For honestly, the reasons you just said, or why we wrote about this week, Mike and I argued for Strickland, because we know what Paulo Costa on losses looks like. We know how the MMA community reacts to him. It's what we currently have. He's still a popular-ish fighter. People are interested in what he is doing. He has enough personality to make things happen. I am deeply unsure of what Sean Strickland off losses looks like as an MMA entity because, and there's a lot of this is speculation. I don't particularly think that people care for Sean Strickland because of his fighting style, which is largely not the most interesting to watch. And I don't think they care for him because he is a captivating personality, though I do think that he has something there. I mostly think people have gravitated towards him because of the stuff that he says is reinforcing their individual beliefs. And that's fine. I'm not judging that as a way to go through life. Do you? But that is a much more fickle level of fame and popularity because you don't want some loser to reinforce your beliefs. You don't give a shit about it. It's why Jacob Volkman is not still an entity in the MMA space because he lost a bunch and no one gave a shit that he was saying the stuff that they liked. It is winning is part and parcel of that kind of fame. And I am deeply skeptical whether Sean Strickland is a guy who people will like regardless of the outcomes. And so I think every win is more significant to him.
Either way, we'll always have UFC 293, one of the funniest nights
Fight
in the
rocked.
history of the sport.
Still, it was so much fun.
Best post-fight show of all time. It was incredible.
It's the only regret I have in MMA media is not going with my heart and picking Sean Strickland to win that fight. Because, God, I would have it tattooed on my forehead. I'd be the most insufferable man to have picked Sean O'Malley and then Sean Strickland, just the two Seans carrying me to glory in 2023.
Man,
the best.
And
DDP, God, 2023 would have been such a good year for me if I had just had the huevos.
All right.
Let's keep it going.
Next super chat. Chase in the super chat. I'm not gonna put your super chat on the screen, but it's talking about it Boston, and he says F Boston. Just telling you that, Mike. But I'm not gonna put that. No, too vulgar.
They hate us because they hate us because they ain't us. Chase. They hate us because they ain't us.
All right, but we got a super chat from.
Actually, in defense of Chase, we hate you because you say things like that. It's just the worst phrase in all of Christendom. They hate us because they ain't us. No.
Wow, double hat. Wow.
I got them all, baby.
Hat on a hat.
It's a hat on a hat. What else we got? Achilles, I'd rather see Nick fight for a title before Bilal. Mike, when your Celtics was 4-1 to the Mavs, I'll send you the parade video. What's your guys' fight of the night? First of all, it's never going to happen.
4-1 does not seem accurate.
Dude, the Celtics haven't even played well at all in this entire postseason. They have not played one super quality basketball game yet, and they're still just rolling everybody. It's incredible.
They're the worst great team because they aren't playing well, but they keep winning. And so it's they might not play good basketball at all and still win.
Yeah, that's how it works. And they're eventually going to start playing good basketball, and then it doesn't matter who steps on the court, they're going to lose.
I don't know. Eventually, we thought Tony Ferguson would win a fight or retire. That doesn't seem to be happening.
Well, there you go. What's the fight of the night for 302, Jed? What's your prediction?
I forgot that there was a second part to this question. I thought we were just talking about that. 302 fight of the night. It's not going to be the main event. I mean, it's probably going to be the co-main event. It's going to win fight of the night. But we've already talked about that enough. And so it's lame. It's chalky. The feature fight of the evening is going to be Bananagrams. Kevin Holland versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Unclear why now is the time for Mikhail to get into like a pay-per-view portion of a card. But both of these dudes chuck it a lot. And Kevin Holland will give you commentary while they're just throwing the kitchen sink at one another. And I suspect that this fight will end in the second round after Mikhail gets tired from just throwing everything he can at the impenetrable Kevin Holland. And then Kevin Holland will tap him because that seems likely. But it's going to be really fun while it lasts.
What you got, Casey?
Yeah, Strickland, Costa, or Holland. I can't even say his last name. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. But I want to ask the reverse. What fight has 0% chance of getting fight of the night?
Bro, come on.
I just want to hear.
Come on. You know the answer, Casey. You know the answer.
Don't you dare say it.
I mean, I'm sorry. Does Alexander Romanov know how to be interesting?
Damn it.
That's going to be the funniest fight of the entire card.
That fight's going
to be miserable.
I can't.
Here's the thing. We now know it's going to be miserable. You could have at least maybe sold this to me prior to Curtis Blades. It's like maybe Romanov can just stuff some takedowns and then it gets sloppy heavyweight striking, which is kind of fun. Jailton Almeida took Curtis Blades down with ease. He's going to double Romanov so fast it's going to make your head spin. But Romanov's a good enough grappler and a big enough dude where Jailton's not going to be able to do like Jailton tap him things. He's just going to hold him for 14 minutes and 34 seconds of this fight. It is going to be misery to watch.
I think we're going to get heavyweights. I think it's going to happen.
Oh, I hope they gas out like in 30 seconds and just start.
I mean,
I'm on heavyweight over Nation this week, Jed.
Oh, we're big. We're invested. Have you seen like Romanov's like photos? That one fight, he got like trim and svelte. He did not do that for this one. He was like, hey, we're going to put on mass. It is going to be a misery to watch this.
It's got to be the best.
So I had to get a reason to talk about that fight on the show. So I was like, oh, here's my opening.
I don't think Phil Rowe versus Jake Matthews is going to be all that fun. Like Phil might finish him late, so that'll be kind of fun. But I don't think that Grant Dawson Joselecki could be fun in a like grappling kind of a way.
Like a high level grappling. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. Nico Price, Alex Morono is not going to be bad at all. I think that's going to be fun.
No, that will actually be fun of its own merits.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Mickey Basil Hafiz could be terrible.
Yeah.
Could be terrible.
And I got to say, shout out to Mitch Raposo making his UFC debut. That fight is going to be fun against Andre Lima. It's going to be fun. I don't know if Mitch wins, but he's certainly going to be a trier out there.
Who's Mitch Raposo?
He's going to bring it.
What's his story?
He's Titan FC's flyweight champion.
Cage Titans and the CES champion. So he's got both New England regional titles. But he's really good. I followed him for a while since he was 18. He's been like one of the top prospects in New England at 25 and 35. He's a
legitimately quality flyweight prospect, Casey.
He's super good.
That's good. No, that's good.
But so is Andre Lima, which is kind of the issue because
he was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was the first seed. I think he was the first pick overall on the Ultimate Fighter. And then he ended up losing his first fight, got wrestled and lost. And then he was on the Contender Series and fought Jake Hadley, who missed weight.
Okay.
Jake looked incredible in that fight. So that's no excuse. And I think even if Jake made weight, probably that same result would have happened. But since then, Mitch has just gone out there and just finished a bunch of dudes. And I think he should have got the UFC call a while ago, but now he's getting his chance on short notice. And Andre Lima's going to try to get a second win after getting bit in the first fight.
I will also say, Casey, that the main event has a high probability of being boring.
If you take out the stakes, just on the fight itself. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I think the stakes are going to be. I mean, don't get this wrong. I'm picking Dustin Poirier because I want to live the gimmick. But if Rational Jed were speaking, the stakes will be removed almost instantaneously when we realize what this fight will look like. And then it will just be 25 minutes or maybe less of that being effectuated into reality. Poirier is simply not a good enough defensive grappler or wrestler. And Islam is not Habib and won't like beat the shit out of him when he gets on top and force Poirier to get tired and give up his neck. He will be much more content to just play control game. And I think there's a real world where this fight looks like all the parts of the BSD Poirier fight where BSD just had a back body lock and had it. Poirier is good enough not to get tapped from there. And BSD's like, fine, I'll hold this position. That's okay.
Exciting.
I'm just saying, like, none of us want that to be the outcome.
Hey, I brought the topic up. This is on me. Yeah,
nobody wants it to be the outcome. I think the most likely scenario is that Makhachev just takes his ass down and sits on him, and Poirier's stuck there.
Yeah. All right.
Comes back to the corner. He says, "Not a lot of space, Mike Brown. Not a lot of space." Yeah, no, that doesn't exist out there.
Paul asks, how did Poirier's custom shorts get fumbled so bad it should have just been diamond printed instead of floral?
Pretty tough.
Agree or disagree?
I don't agree in the diamond printed on floral, but I looked at the shorts. They're not good. It was a bad design. It's just not a good floral design. It is really bad.
Here's my thing, right? Like, I think the diamond thing would have honestly been fine. I didn't even think of that, which shows that I'm, design, not my subject, I guess. How is it not just like a fleur-de-lis? Like, that feels like the easiest layup of all time for New Orleans Dustin Poirier to at least have that like as part and parcel of it. And two, I don't know. Somebody tweeted this yesterday, and when they said it, it crystallized why I reflexively wasn't into them. It's like, oh, those just look like random frat dudes board shorts for the beach. Like, what are we doing? Like, they're nothing, at least with Max, like the floral thing when Hawaii makes more sense. There's nothing unique or germane to Dustin Poirier. It's just a different short. And I did not care for them at all. I thought this was a miss.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. But I mean, watch the press conference tonight. Poirier's going to come out with a freaking Hawaiian shirt on that probably matches what that is anyways. That's what he usually typically wears. He's not fighting or preparing for a fight.
The little green leaf right there. Like, why is that there? Why is there?
Yeah, that's
I didn't
tough.
notice that. That's a tough location.
Dude, that's what these are they're not designed well at all. This is very like the shorts are maybe. I was gonna say, they're backwards, but they're backwards. That's even worse. It's just really weird.
Dude, for sure, this should have just been diamonds and fleur-de-lis. Like,
or some, yeah.
Poirier's hot sauce has a diamond on it. Like, for sure, you should just be doing diamonds and fleur-de-lis. And, like, then those would be sick. They would be awesome. Like, hell yeah.
They're trying.
All
right.
I do love that Islam doesn't get custom shorts, though.
He probably, but Islam's the kind of dude that they would ask, and he's just like, nah, I'm good.
Well, it's the other thing is, like, what would they even be? There's nothing that, like, jumps out.
Is Habib's face all over them?
Yeah. It's just like, but it struck me.
It's just a picture of Habib hugging.
He doesn't have a nickname. Like, there's nothing
shorts.
there.
Islam just gets Habib back in his corner. It's like the thing that he gets. I was like,
Habib and DC's face all over him. It'd be the best.
When Habib beats Poirier, there's like, he will have a very reasonable argument to be the number 2 lightweight of all time. And he's so nondescript. It's fascinating.
Yeah, 100%.
Like number 2 right now is BJ Penn, and I will still have BJ over Islam. But when he beats Poirier, there's a real conversation at what point he passes BJ. It's probably one more after that, frankly.
If he beats Arman, he's probably there.
If he beats Poirier and Arman, he probably is the number 2 all time. At that point, it's just like, what do we know about this man? Nothing. We know no things about him.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. I've seen lots of questions about this, and I don't know. I haven't been following this, but yeah, what's the story on this?
Does Islam Staph gonna play a role? So this happens like every fight.
Islam has Staph.
No, they showed a picture of him with his shorts on, and one of his legs looked a little raw, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's got Staph."
Oh, that does look like Staph.
It could be.
I just Googled. I mean, it might not be, but it does look like Staph. Particularly him training with the cover up on it would tend to be Staph, but it's fine.
Is this from Embedded's video?
No, it's from his photo of like his pre-fight photos.
Oh, it's pre-fight photos.
People pointed it out.
So the UFC sent that out. So I just have there's no way the UFC was sending.
It also
out.
actually, and this photo that's from there doesn't look like it's new staff or recent staff. So like,
yeah,
if it was staff, it looks like it's on the back end of it, and maybe that would have affected his training. But I mean, we'll never know whether it does or doesn't. But ultimately, I don't think it will matter. This is a really bad matchup for Dustin.
Oh, by the
I
way,
don't know if it's as bad as it be, but it is really bad.
Perhaps, gentlemen, the UFC has been watching BTL, and perhaps they heard your commentary about what could be in the heavyweight fight between Jailton Almeida and Alexander.
I was about to bring that up. You saw it.
No, they bumped it.
Alexander Romanov versus Jailton Almeida is now a preliminary fight, and Nico Price versus Alex Morono 2 is now on the main card. How about that?
How do random heavies get main events for fight nights, but two top? Well, I don't know, Romanov's not top 10, but a top 10 heavyweight gets thrown in the prelims. It's kind of crazy.
Because they realized that it's not going to be
a quick fight.
Vibe. It's going to be 17 minutes.
Going to kill the vibe, Casey.
So it's either heavyweights or
Randy
like
Brown into Zaleski dos Santos into vibe killer.
I'm so bummed now.
They learned from Rebellis to Spade and WCA. We can't do this anymore.
Speaking of that, let me make a direct supplication to Roman Kopylov. If you come out here and do the Waldo Cortez Acosta shit to Cesar Almeida, I'll never forgive you. You got booked in this fight because you don't shoot takedowns. I know you're an 18-time combat sambo world champion or whatever, and then very clearly you could just out-grapple Glory Kickboxer Cesar Almeida. But don't fucking do that. No one's here to see that. You have to understand that this sport is not about you. You're not the center of attention here, Roman Kopylov. You need to come in here and chuck mitts with this dude because that's what you're here for. And I swear to God, if you come in here and shoot one stupid-ass takedown and WCA this thing, I will hate you forever. It's 1,000% going to happen. He's going to fire in, and my Almeida parlay will go up in flames, and the dream of Cesar Almeida versus Alex Pereira will die because Roman Kopylov wants to be good when he's just fine. It's going to be infuriating. Fight against your own interests. Fight for the fan.
What a promo.
All right.
I'm so right. He's going to do it, and it's going to suck. I honestly am not sure if the man has ever shot a takedown attempt in the UFC, but he's not an idiot. So he's going to be like, I'm just going to take this dude down. It's going to be fine. But it's not why we booked you this way.
How dare you mix the martial arts? How dare you?
Not against a glory kickboxer. Just kickbox him. Be a man.
Yeah. Worked out great for Sean.
He has landed 2 successful takedowns in the UFC.
Oh. Yeah, well, then Almeida's cooked. We're done here.
Rip up that parlay. All right, let's get to these super chats.
Spencer, Ben and MMA fans since UFC 113. BTL and preview review shows become some of my favorite content of all time. Want to say thanks for the content. Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate that.
Spencer.
What was 113?
We love all of you, but we love Spencer more.
You remember what 113 was? Yeah. No Jose's in here? I was probably there. I was definitely there. I just don't remember.
Okay, I definitely watched. I definitely watched it.
Yeah,
I've watched every UFC event ever produced. So that was Machida Shogun 2.
Oh, in Toronto. All right.
Yeah, it was also the infamous Josh Koscheck Paul Daly fight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Me and Arawani were interviewing Josh Koscheck. We're interviewing Josh Koscheck at the moment when Machida got knocked out. We're like, oh, I remember that very distinctly because I didn't actually get to see the main event because I was doing work. All right.
Chase, what are the odds Leon Bilal gets fight of the night? And Chase loves Bilal Muhammad, president of the fan club.
I have to look up the rest of that event. I mean, the odds are pretty low because
the main events get pushed a lot. So
25 minutes gives you an enormous advantage. Bilal Muhammad has one fight of the night in his career.
how many does
Leon
Leon have?
Edwards. That's a great question, Casey. I'm looking that up right now. The answer is exactly what I would have guessed: 0. He has 0 fight of the nights.
So Bilal
And
is the more, statistically Bilal's the
Bilal
more
is more
exciting fighter.
likely to be the one responsible for it. Also, his fight of the night I never would have pulled was against Alan Jabon.
I think it's
Bobby Green,
Shabbat.
Patty Pimblett's going to be fun. Arnold Giga is going to be fun.
Makhachev probably be
has
fun.
no chance.
Mhm.
Nah, no chance that wins fight of the night, though. It'll be fine. It won't win fight of the night.
Molly McCann's
Flyweight.
always in fun fights.
Molly McCann is a scrapper. I would guess that
Daniel
Bobby
Wood,
Green, Patty
Daniel
Pimblett
Pineda is
most likely.
always in crazy ass fights, so that's going to
Daniel Wood,
be
Daniel
up
Pineda
there.
would-
Leon Bilal could get fight of the night if it's a kind of a crazy comeback that goes to decision. I would think like Bilal takes the first 2 rounds and then I don't know, something like that. It would have to be some sort of story arc, not just like, it won't be just pure swinging and banging type of fight of the
I
night.
will say it has at least a shot just because 25 minutes, and I strongly doubt the co-main event will be fight of the night material. But I would not bet on it to get that. Leon Edwards throws like 2 strikes a minute. It's a bad number.
All right, here we go. Thank you very much.
All right.
Was super
more?
chatting with you, Chase.
Spencer back. Number of W's Islam needs to be higher Khabib all time.
It's a really good question. I've thought about it a lot in the last few months, years. I don't know the answer. It's gonna be a bit of a vibe feel because this, if he beats Dustin, he will tie the longest lightweight title defense streak at 3. There are 4 people currently with it, and he will tie it. He will he has a good chance to pass it if he he then fights Arman, beats Arman. I don't know, because he also has been pretty clear he wants to go pursue the welterweight business. And so if he bails on this to go do that, then his lightweight resume won't be there. If he gets 2 title defenses, he's not ahead of Khabib. 2 more on top of the 2 that he currently has. Particularly because, and I know some people don't factor this in, but I do. One of the things I rate so highly about GSP's run is it was all against different dudes. He had very few rematches, and the rematches he had, and that were understandable. But the fact that currently Islam's if Islam wins on Saturday, his lightweight title reign will be 2 against the same featherweight, and then Dustin Poirier, who doesn't deserve a title fight. Love Dustin, all-time great, doesn't deserve this title shot. It's a really weird title defense resume, whereas Khabib's was interim champion Dustin Poirier, interim champion Justin Gaethje, just an insane run of dudes.
The timing was just better
at
for
the
Khabib.
peak of where they were going. The timing was much better, and then I think that it's hard to take away the fact that if Khabib probably would be retired now if his father hadn't passed, but they fought all the time, and we were pretty clear on who the better man was in at the peak of their powers, and it was Khabib. So it at some point the resume will just surpass what Khabib was able to do. I think at least 3 more title defenses before I'm okay, let's open that to the floor for debate.
Look at this division now compared to how we were viewing it 18 months ago.
It's the same, just older.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw a lot of these guys get their chances. All these young up-and-comers get their opportunities. Arman cashed in. Fiziev, unable to. He's lost 2 in a row. Jalen Turner's lost 2 out of 3. Benoit Saint-Denis gets knocked out by Dustin Poirier. So, these guys have all been put in these positions to make that move up, but only one has been able to do it. And even Grant Dawson, even a guy like Grant Dawson gets a main event with Bobby Green and gets knocked out in 20 seconds.
Now he's fighting Joe Solecki.
Yeah, all these guys were reviewing as these guys are 2 or 3 wins away from getting into the top 5. And just think of the fights we can get with Islam versus Jalen Turner, Islam versus Rafael Fiziev, Islam versus Arman 2, and all these other dudes. The only ones that are the only guy who hasn't really gotten that chance yet is Batush Gamrot. He's the only one. that hasn't really gotten that like big
I
fight.
mean, he did.
Wait, did
He got
there
Benny?
you- You got Benny.
Oh, he got Benny.
Benny.
He got Benny. You're right. You're right.
He
You're
put
right.
him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Benny lost, so he never got the title
But then
shot.
Benny,
Yeah. Benny never got it.
lightweight,
Yeah,
Chucky lost.
just can't stress this
Armin.
enough. Lightweight's the best division. It is impossible to make headway because all of those dudes that we just listed 2 years ago were like the future of the weight class. But because they didn't get to do I get one fight and then I get to fight for a title, it was, I got to win 4 in a row against murderers to get that shot. No, like Armin, frankly, has been very lucky. Like, because he got like where his losses came, even, and I know, Mike, that you disagree. He didn't lose to Gamrot. Sure. On paper he did, and that should have set him back. But because things broke well, he got to fight, Charles and get into this spot in that way. But like, it's just impossible to win 6 fights in a row in this weight class, which you have to do you have to win 6 fights in a row once you become a contender. Once you're a top 20 dude, you got to win like 5 to get to a belt. It's just, you can't make headway here. It's so nuts.
Yeah.
And then you also have guys like
titles.
Conor, and if the timing works out right, he just might jump in front of everyone.
Yeah, well, Conor's like how lightweight kind of got broken. Where it's just like, okay, now we're adding more fights to climb the ranks to get there because just a really popular dude kind of gets to be in front of you.
Just because money talks.
Man. Yeah, it's the best division.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's an okay
John
division.
Hennig agrees it's lightweight.
I get it's the money division though. I get if you combine big fights, I get it. All right.
I would be open to bantamweight being a better division if all of the bantamweights were under one roof.
No, I've always said that bantamweight worldwide is the best division. Obviously,
I still don't agree with that. I'd be more open if we got to see that happen, but also there's just like, I have a lot of speculation that Patchy Mix is very good, but like I don't truly know. Or conversely, like I don't know if Sean O'Malley's good. Maybe Patchy Mix is way better. We're just never going to find out.
Never, unfortunately.
All right.
We're going to get Patchy Mix versus Leandro Ego next, so get ready. Grant Dawson lost all hype after last fight. Is he top 5 material? I got to tell you guys, and this is a low-key kind of hot take, outside of like, the top 2 fights and stuff, I think Grant Dawson needs a win on this card more than probably anybody else.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's firmly true.
This is it. Like, this is truly it. His dream of, this year I'm going to be top 15, then that year I'm going to be top 10, then that year I'm going to be top 5, then I'm going to be world champion. If he's ever going to fight for a belt, he's got to be Joe Solecki. If he loses this fight, he'll get wins and still have a good career, but he ain't fighting for a belt if he loses to Joe Solecki. And Joe is good. Like, he's a very solid hand. Yeah, he lost to Jakar Close, but it's because he got freaking power bombed unconscious. Very rare.
It's a quality UFC lightweight. I mean,
and he's very good.
Yeah.
But Joe Solecki being a plus 370 dog is like...
Never bet on Joe Solecki. It's way too big a number. Way too big a number.
BTL alum Joe Solecki, by the way. Actually, I think Grant was on the show once upon a time as well. So, both guys, former BTLers getting at it. But minus 45 seems pretty wide.
Price for a dude who's, I don't know, they're just going to grapple a bunch. It's not like one dude is substantially better in that regard, I don't think. I guess we're going to find out. But
is he top 5 material?
No.
I don't. Yeah. Heading into the Bobby Green fight, I certainly thought he was. But
I thought he had I would have given him an outside chance to be a top 5 dude heading into the Bobby Green fight. No. Because he's also 30 and like, so he's still got, 4 prime-ish years left in him. But like that also just coincides. Like, I will never think he is better than Armin. I will never think he is better than Islam. Who else is young in this weight class? Like, I don't think he would ever do well against Fiziev. And so that's already 3 dudes who are like right along the line. Jalen Turner, I think, is destined for welterweight, so we can kind of skip that one. I've given up on Jalen the lightweight, and I'm now pivoting to Jalen the welterweight. Jalen is a lightweight. I can't trust him to even. But welterweight has a long history of good, not great lightweights coming up and then just wrecking shit. Gilbert Burns, Michael Chiesa, the list goes on. Plenty of former lightweights doing quality things at welterweight. And I'm now of the belief that Jalen Turner will be one of those as soon as he accepts it into his heart.
Yes.
But also, yes, he could beat Jalen Turner, but I wouldn't pick him to beat Jalen Turner. But Benoit Saint-Denis, I think, is an atrocious matchup for Grant Dawson.
That'd be fun. That'd be a fun fight.
It'd be fun as hell. BSD, I'm so excited to have BSD in our life for the next 6 years.
I know. God, man. Him and Fizzy would be incredible. Him and Dan Hooker would be fun as hell.
I need him and Justin Gaethje to fight each other.
That's going to happen at some point, I think.
Unless
Running out
Justin
of time, I think.
Reasonably just retires because, it's fine, but it would make me so happy to watch them fight each other.
Oh, man.
Pass the torch of Violence Idiot on to BSD, please, Justin. It's important.
Love it. All right. What else we got? Then we got to take a couple more.
Also, I love that RDA is still in the UFC's lightweight rankings. What an absolute grift that man has going.
Michael asks, is it possible for Colby to be the backup for UFC 304?
If you want to give me an aneurysm, sure. I would lose my fucking mind.
He popped up.
I actually don't think it's
Leon
possible.
Usman.
I just don't even think it's possible because we all watched Leon Colby and the UFC does not want to do that again.
I'll say no.
I don't. Yeah.
I mean, well, I'll say it's possible. I'll say yes. It's possible. Would I bet on it? No, I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible.
I hate what I'm about to say.
Why are we offended by this? Because no backup has ever actually fought. Is it because if you are a backup, he will get the next fight?
That's what Dana says. But Mateusz Gamrot's still waiting on that title fight. He was supposed to get. It just won't happen. But again, can't believe I'm about to say these words, and boy, do I hate them. Based on timelines, it wouldn't be insane to think Joaquin Buckley could get the backup role in that. If we're just trying to get a backup fighter there.
But Joaquin Buckley is already backing up Conor versus Chandler.
He's super not doing that. But
could have fought Ian Garry on the card if he didn't do it.
Because MVP and Ian Garry are fighting a month before, they're not liable to be backups. They're not going to have Shavkat serve as a backup like that. That just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I don't think it would be Colby. Jack Della, he's now with Staph or whatever, or injured. I don't remember if it's Staph or injured, whichever one of those. We're going to do Gilbert Burns. Honestly, it's a pretty tough list to find a backup that might be suitable. And at least Buckley has been
just destroys Ian Garry.
100%. If MVP destroys Ian Garry and can make weight again a month later, not even a question that man is the backup fighter.
There you go.
All right. Similarly, if Ian Garry does the same, he would also be the backup fighter. Be fine.
All right. Sure. We have a – hold on. Mike Heck?
Rafael, I just want to be clear. Rafael dos Anjos in 2022 beat Renato Moicano and in 2020 beat Paul Felder. And through those wins, he is hanging on to a top 15 UFC lightweight ranking. What a grift. He's also explicitly stated he's not fighting at 155 again. And it's just hanging in there. What a hero.
Truly.
All right.
What do we got?
Dude, RDA Tony. Why are we doing that fight again? Do anything other than what we've done with Tony.
I figure we have a couple more months to complain about that fight. So I kind of,
sure.
Look at this.
Whoa. Tanvir. Thank you. What a guy.
Dude,
yeah. But I think,
I wish you chatted something.
Oh, I think he messed up.
Thank you.
But I think this is his actual question.
Oh, okay.
But
good.
But thank you, $50. That's two or three iced coffees, right?
That's like a week's worth right there. And think of the loyalty points I'm going to get. That's a couple freebies on top of it. Might be able to buy my wife a copy this week.
I think this is his question.
UFC has reinstated flags. Do you think they will allow Islam or other Muslim fighters to display the Palestinian flag?
Nope.
I don't think so either.
Hard no.
Freedom of speech.
I am truly interested to see what they do with the post fight, because somebody not that long ago like said something in a post fight, but didn't like directly say Palestine, but did like kind of mention something. And I am fascinated, particularly. I honestly thought about it less with Islam, though certainly there's that. But like we're going to Abu Dhabi and we're going to Saudi soon, and like I don't know, man. I'm just gonna be really interested to see what they do, because I think it's really unlikely they allow that to occur if they can stop it.
We'll see. I would say doubtful, but could be wrong.
Yeah, but yeah.
And I will also say that Islam, like Habib and Islam, both seem to be really understanding of the business implications of their moments in time. And like you can find quotes from Habib that are things that I would super not support or agree with, but he was very clear of cultivating his outward fight persona and marketability in like pretty reasonable ways. And so I'd like, just not to beat around the bush. He never came out and said a lot of the shit Sean Strickland says, despite probably agreeing with much of it. And Islam has been very similar too. They are very cautious and considerate about when they vocalize things. So it's probably unlikely that Islam comes out with like a huge pro-Palestine message, like in his post-fight speech.
We'll see. Okay.
Are you the man?
Yeah. A few more super chats before we leave.
Pitar, Bilal and Islam both win their next two fights. How likely do you think they fight at 170 pounds for a title?
0. Bilal basically said that. Did he not? Wasn't he speaking with you, or maybe he was speaking with Damon? I don't remember who he was speaking with.
Yeah,
well, it was you, right? And didn't he just say like?
No, it was Damon.
No, we're homies.
Yeah,
yeah. He was
they've
like,
trained together. They've been training together.
He started training with Team Habib. It's like we're homies, but Islam could go up and fight Drickus for the middleweight belt. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't think they would fight each other. Although if there's a falling out, I think Islam would jump at the chance to fight Bilal for the world title.
I would confidently pick Islam Makhachev to beat either Leon Edwards or Bilal Muhammad. But this is also the same dude who stood firmly on the corner saying Habib would have beaten Izzy, and you'll never convince me that he would not have beaten Izzy. Much less Usman. Usman would have been more difficult than Izzy.
Yeah. Keeler's asked Perez versus Edwards. Sorry, guys. Last one. Hoping for a good fight. A coach choking out another fighter. Not the best look. Yes, there's some heat on this one.
What happened? I don't remember
Eileen,
what occurred.
Perez and Jocelyn Edwards.
Yeah. That's right. Right.
Things happened backstage. And there was chokes and all sorts of shenanigans. And yeah, they're going to fight on Saturday on a preliminary fight that is going to happen. And that's all.
I mean, a lot of heat there.
Yeah. Eileen Perez should probably win. And if she does, she'll do something that gets social
with all this
media
animosity, do either of them have a finish in the UFC? I know that their like average fight time is 15 minutes or close. So maybe we'll get a little, something a little spicier early with all this animosity.
All right.
All decisions for Jocelyn Edwards in the UFC, and all decisions for Eileen Perez. Her loss was via submission, though, to Stephanie Yeager.
Which we know Jocelyn Edwards' big submission threat, so seems likely.
Senor Pepe, bet the house on Dustin, courtesy of No Bets Barred. Also, we need season 2 of Cinema and Jet Sox.
So we're clear. The two programs you mentioned, I am a deeply invested part of, Senor Pepe. So I love this. This is an unbelievable bit from you.
It should have been like a compliment sandwich, though. It should have been No Bets Barred, then Jed Sucks, then also needs season 2. Then it's like you feel good coming in, you feel good going out.
Also, Senor Pepe, you're definitely getting season 2 of This Is Cinema. I'm already working on our plans for season 3, which I have tentatively pitched as the season where we exclusively watch Never Back Downs and the entire Never Back Down universe. And then season 7, when we're running out of shit, is when we get into the Sharknado universe.
All right. Thank you.
Tucker, UFC should sign Jay Ellis to fight Tony Ferguson instead. Shout out Jay Ellis, New England legend.
Yes.
He's fought for Cage Titans like 800 times.
So, like,
and NEF.
A reasonable thought, but what if he wins? You know? Like, what if Jay
How many times
wins?
I feel like we say that for every Ferguson fight. Like, I can't believe they're booking him, but what if he wins? That's even worse.
No, I meant what if Jay Ellis wins?
Oh,
like,
oh yeah.
Listen,
Jay can strike, man. Like Jay, if you ever watch Jay fight, the dude gets after it. He gets after it. He swings and he throws hard. He's got pretty good striking, and then you take him down, and the fight is over. Like, it's just over after that. Once he gets taken down, he's done. But he is fun until that happens, and he can hit.
Raymond Arnold, I know you've been waiting for the Never Back Down episode. We've been waiting. The entire show was functionally pitched on my love for that movie, so we're savoring it. We're not going to come out with that one. Like, we gotta take our time to get to Never Back Down.
Yeah.
You gotta do them all. There you go. Gatorquake, the premier MMA movie franchise. We'll have to review that movie once it's in the can, Jed. Chase, good luck keeping a Palestinian flag up, Bilal. Yeah, he might be the one that.
I saw this from Chase. Was like, Chase nailed it.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting that week. Even with the media
Dude,
questions.
There's a 0% chance if Bilal wins that he doesn't say something after. Like, there's just, I mean, that, because media week, you know, he kind of can say whatever he wants. But, like, his post-fight interview, if he wins, I just don't think there's any chance he doesn't say something. And that will be fascinating to watch. ESPN plus a Disney subsidiary manage that.
Yeah. Anything else? Or are we good?
We are good.
Okay. Loaded show. Thank you for all the great questions. Thanks for the super chats. We appreciate all of you. Tomorrow, busy day, of course, the weigh-in show with AK Lee. Jose is obviously in Newark, so we'll see all the drama unfold at weigh-ins. There will be a preview show tomorrow. I'm not sure who's going to be on it. I just know that I will not be on it. Somehow, some way, I got a Friday off before a pay-per-view, so I'm going to take that and run with it before I have to fly out to New York. Yeah.
Does this mean I'm hosting tomorrow? I need to now figure this out.
I mean, maybe another bald gentleman will host, but we'll figure it out. We will let you know. And then Saturday, that's when all the fun happens. We'll have the People's Pre-Fight Show. Casey and I will answer your questions once again, leading you into 302. We got the watch party on Saturday. Woo! Very excited to be reunited with GC and the fellas in New York City. And then, obviously, Jose's going to be there, so you'll have all the post-fight interviews, press conference, post-fight show. AK and I live on Sunday for On to the Next One for some matchmaking. It's going to be a weekend full of fun, plus there's some good boxing going down. If you're a combat sports fan, you are in for a treat. For Casey, for Jed, I am Mike Eck. Thank you very much. Back next week to react to it all. We'll see you. Iconic voice you home. Good night, everybody.
Love y'all!
This has been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.